real pleasure to see you, and I want to start with a real thank you. Not just thank you for being here, but thank you for making the choice to be here. I know most of you work long days. All of you had different options for tonight to go spend some time with your family, to do any number of things. And you chose to come to be involved in a conversation about the country, about our communities, about where we're going, about what we need to do together to make sure we're tackling the future with all the right abilities, all the right tools, and all the right people doing the right things. And this is something that I love doing. I love having the opportunity to engage in town halls like this because as much as part of it's about me sharing my thinking and sharing the approaches I take to big challenges and questions, a lot of it is me hearing directly from you about your concerns, about the things that are on your minds, about where you disagree with me, where you agree with me, where we need to do a little more of this or less of that. These kinds of conversations are at the core of what politics should be all about. Because politics, which gets a bad rap a lot of times these days, should be simply, in its simplest expression, how we choose to organize ourselves as communities, as a country, to prepare for the future of this country. And what we are living through right now is a time in which those conversations are more important than ever. Because people are rightly a little bit anxious about where we are and where we're going, not just as a country, not just as communities, but as a world. We're seeing a level of uncertainty and disruption in the world around us, of transformation, of acceleration of the pace of change that is really destabilizing. So whether it's the transformation and the challenges that are coming with climate change, have been over years, but you're increasingly seeing tangibly in extreme weather events and challenges to communities and people around the world. Whether it's the challenge of the pandemic that had us all disrupted in very real ways as we adjusted to different ways of doing things that leaves lingering challenges afterwards in terms of how our mental health is, how our supply chains are operating. We're living through a time where the war in Europe, the illegal invasion of Ukraine by Russia, has a huge impact, both because we're seeing disruption, we're seeing hikes in food prices, and fertilizer costs, in energy prices because of what Russia's doing. But we're also seeing uncertainty around how strong our democracies are and will be. We're seeing an erosion as a authoritarian government has decided to invade a peaceful neighbor and redraw lines on the map just because they have a bigger army than their neighbor. And that causes a lot of uncertainty. Layer onto that the inflation challenges we have, the interest rates challenges. People are really worried about where they're going, about where their communities are going, and how we're going to build that better future. And all those problems, all those challenges, which are interwoven and impact each other and amplify each other, none of them have simple solutions. None of the ways to solve for these challenges that we're facing in the future can fit on a bumper sticker, or in a tweet, or in a TikTok video. And yet, so much of what politics is these days is, the outrage generation, the simple solution, the amplification of social media, without actually leaning in on the hard work of solving those challenges. You all know the challenges you're facing in your lives. That those simple solutions to complex problems very rarely actually pan out as being the right solutions. So how do we choose to engage as citizens in a democracy? How we choose to listen to or challenge the people who are in these jobs to serve you, to represent you, to try and articulate the best of democracy by saying this is what we're doing together, this is the direction we're going, and you guys get to pick from different parties and different visions to align with what is best for you. That requires a level of openness to each other, to listening, to engaging. And that's why I'm so glad to be here. And I certainly look forward to a huge range of questions. Yes, they can be related to Manitoba building trades and union issues, but really whatever it is on your mind as things that are bugging you or worrying about or things that you want to ask me about or challenge me on, please. That's what this opportunity is about. I'm really looking forward to it. But before I do, I just want to say, because I'm here in Union Hall, I want to say a couple things about labor in this country. Back in 2015, when I first got elected, we had seen for 10 years a government that didn't do a very good job of working with labor. Perhaps the best example for that, some of you will remember, were the anti-union legislations they brought in, 525 and 377, which was all about making it harder for people to organize into unions, making it harder for unions to actually be able to function effectively. It was something that the right-wing base of the heart really wanted to push. And we made a commitment because we believed in labor that was one of the first things we did to repeal all of those that. But that wasn't why we did it. We did it because the entire focus of our campaign and of my choosing to get into politics and become a leader is to make sure that we start to turn around the hollowing out of the middle class that we've seen across Western democracies, across so many of our countries around the world, where the rising tide no longer lifts all boats, where even as the economy grows, the richest get richer, and the middle class, instead of benefiting, tends to fall out of the middle class as often as it moves forward. And that has very real consequences. When people feel that the idea of the progress that Canada was built on, that so many of our countries were built on, that the hard work of one generation creates opportunities for the next generation to do even better, when that suddenly breaks, when you're genuinely worried that maybe your kids won't have the kinds of opportunities that your parents' hard work were able to give to you, there's a break in the promise of progress, in the social contract that we're supposed to have as a country. And we've tried to focus very much, and have been focused over the past 8 years, on trying to turn that around. Because when people are anxious, when people are worried, as a political leader, you have two choices. You can show people that you empathize with them and reflect back that anger and say, yes, I know how angry you are. You should be angry. The system's broken. It's keeping you down. Let's all be angry together. And you can amplify that anger. And it can mobilize very effectively, especially in this era of social media, to get people out angry at the polls, get people out and involved and shouting against things. What that kind of anger amplification can't do is actually solve for the problems we're facing. And what we've been focused on is exactly that. Doing away with the trickle-down theory that we continue to believe is to give better tax breaks to the rich and let people keep more of their income instead of raising taxes on them. Then the middle class will trickle down, you get money trickling down to the middle class, and the richest will create more jobs, and the whole economy will work. Well, it doesn't work. That's never worked. Trickle down doesn't work. So what we've been focused on is growing the economy from the middle out and the bottom up. And that means making sure everybody has a chance to succeed. It means investing in things like the UTIP program, Union Trades Building and Training Centers. That has allowed more people to join the trades. It's investing in infrastructure in ways that have created more opportunities for the building trades across the country in so many different ways. It's listening to you all and knowing that moving forward on the mobility tax credit, when you have to shift to a job site, whether it's in Fort McMurray or across Ontario, that you're able to deduct some of your travel expenses. We doubled our tools expenses deduction this year, because that's part of the work that you guys need to be able to do. We continue to look at how we can make sure we're doing things better, and even as we're moving towards building a cleaner, greener economy, for the first time ever, on the infrastructure for critical minerals, on hydrogen, on carbon capture technology, on clean electricity. If companies want to benefit from the maximum tax credits we're putting forward for the first time, we put in labor requirements for salaries, for benefits, for treating people right to create good jobs for the future. These are things that we've done because we know you can only build strong, peaceful communities if people have confidence that the future, as uncertain as it is, has room for their success. Only people can see themselves in the future. But that, of course, is a longer conversation than let's tear it all down and start again. It requires hard work. But if there's anyone who knows what you can build when you put in the hard work, it's the folks here in this room, in the building trades, who know what kind of work goes into building a new structure, building a strong foundation and a successful building on top of it. It takes that work. It takes that finding a way, it takes that serious. You can't cut corners, you can't yell your way into building. You actually have to do the work. And that's what we've been focused on for many years. That's why I'm so pleased to be able to be here tonight to hear your perspective on what we're doing right, what we're not doing right, and where you think we could be doing more differently. So I'm going to get into taking your questions now. What I'll do is I'll start in this section here, and then go all the way around the room, and you can ask whatever it is you like. I look forward to getting into it, and we'll take it off. Anyone in this section with questions? That's all the leadership is. Yeah. Go ahead. Here, just stand up and remind us your name. Sorry, what's your name?
James first.
James, that's it.
So in our local, we do an initiative called Tax Fraud Days of Action. And we're actually in it right now, so I feel a little bit obligated to ask. The dirty contractor who doesn't pay his taxes, we have a few that are on our radar. At the federal level, what are we doing to eliminate contractors like that to help the good contractor, which our unions deal with?
That's a great question. We are seeing, unfortunately, in some parts of the country, and may well be here, an actual rise in people choosing to pay cash, using work that's under the table, sometimes hiring people who are not qualified to do the jobs, putting themselves and everyone else at risk. There are limited tools we have directly at the federal level, and a lot of that is around provincial contracting. But one of the things that we can do, and we have limited, for example, when we put forward things like the home retrofit program, right? You only get the tax benefits of putting in new windows or better insulation if you can show the receipts. And that has done a lot. The goal of it was about having people save money and upgrade their homes and be more environmental, but it actually had an impact when it was brought in on reducing the number of under-the-table contractors that we're using. And some of the other things we're doing, whether it's around procurement for federal work, or just cracking down on tax fraud in general. There's a lot of things that we can do, but there has to be that's why it's so great you're doing the awareness campaign and days of action. People understanding that they're putting themselves and their community at risk by trying to save a little money under the table. But at the same time, things are expensive right now. And one of the best things we can do is keep working to bring inflation down, as we're doing. It's going to come down to probably 3%. We're saying over the summer, which would be a really good thing if that happens. Making sure we're supporting people with things like the grocery rebate we've had right now, so that they're not faced with impossible choices as we move forward. So making sure there's more prosperity, making sure that people are actually engaging in the right way, and yes, leaning in on structures to make sure that what happens under the table. Thank you for that, James. Other questions?
Mr. Prime Minister, I was on the Pete Frost insulators. I want to, on behalf of our membership across Canada, I want to thank you for the efforts in the budget. We have labor mobility tax deduction, continued investment in youth, by using apprenticeship instructor. I appreciate all of that. As the next generation enters the workforce and is going to be there to retrofit and modernize these buildings, reduce emissions, and it's fantastic. And I want to thank you as we celebrate these pieces of the budget. I also want to celebrate the fact, once again, with you, the banning of asbestos. But I'm going to put an ask on you, just like my friend, our colleague in the past, was right there, actually. We got the ban in 2018. I want to ask this government, I want to ask you, your government, if you can find some mechanisms inside the budget that we can establish some sort of working group for a national strategy on asbestos, how to deal with what's left. If we put in next generation of workers in these buildings, the built environment, reality is there's a lot of asbestos still out there. We banned the process, but we still have a built environment for the other. If we want to reduce those emissions, those pieces that all look forward to doing, we're going to tackle this with a new generation that's not familiar with it.
No, it's a great question, Adam. We were really pleased to move forward on the asbestos ban. But like you say, as we're looking at the retrofits and the greening of the building stock, we're going to get to net zero, we're going to have the efficient buildings that we know we're going to have. There's going to be a lot of construction work and a lot of renovating of existing building stock while they continue to have asbestos. So I will look into what we're doing at that and what we can. I encourage you loud and clear on that. One of the things we actually just moved forward on is a private member's bill on recognizing cancers unique to firefighters in the work they're doing, understanding that their job exposes them to chemicals that gives them higher rates of cancers, and having a strategy that looks at that as how do we get more preventative on that. I think there's probably links we can create in there, but I really appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you. Another question from this section. Okay, go ahead. Yes, I'll give time for this.